Welcome back everyone. In this video we will discuss data from another angle, which is a scope of variables. We have two important terms when it comes to scopes of variables: visibility or accessibility, or the lifespan of a variable. And we have at least three levels of scopes: block, function, or global. Okay, let's go to the code and discuss them in details. Here I have a main function, and inside this main function I have declared two variables, integers, main number and second main number. And here next I have a block. It's an if statement, and we will always go to the true branch because the condition is true. It's always true. So we will, when I run the code, it will execute these lines of codes, which means which are a print statement, and initialization and declaration of a variable, and then printing the value of that variable. So here I have in the output terminal, if I run the program, I have a print statement, the value of that variable that I declared and initialized, and then the last print statement outside the branch. But guess what, if I unblock this line of code and run it, I will get 5 or another number. Pause the video and think about that. Unfortunately, I will get an error, which is the error is block number was not declared in this scope. What will happen is when I go into this if branch, I will declare this variable, and once I'm getting out of this scope, once I'm getting out of this if branch, the compiler automatically destroy all of the variables that you declared here, because it's getting out of this scope. The compiler is getting out of the scope, and the variable that you have will get automatically destroyed, and it's not alive. It is not alive nor visible here out of this if statement. So that's the reason that I'm getting this error. And if I unblock that again, comment this line again, and run that again, I will have the output without any error. You saw this behavior in the previous course that you have, 1620, Introduction to C++ Programming, when you were using if statement. Here, this declaration and initialization of I variable is only for this loop scope, this scope that we have here, this block that we have here, and I is only alive and visible in this scope. And when you get out of this scope, the compiler will automatically destroy the I variable for us. And that's why if I uncomment this line and run the program, I will get an error. I was not declared in this scope. And the reason is basically we only need this I counter for counting the steps in the for loop, and we don't need that in we no longer need I counter when we are done with our loop, when we are done with our iteration. So that's one of the reasons that we are declaring I inside this for loop. Another way is having the declaration outside of the for loop, and here inside the for loop we only initialize them, and if we push the initialization outside of this for block, we no longer get this error. I is 5, yeah, because we start from 0 and go to 4 and then increment that. I becomes 5 and we check the condition. Is 5 less than 5? No. So we break the for loop and come out, print this line, and then print the value of I. So this is the reason that you need to have the declaration in front of the for, so that the compiler automatically destroy this unnecessary variable for you when you are done with your iteration. All right, so right now we know what is block, and we know the visibility and accessibility, and we know when a variable is visible and when it is alive, when it is declared inside a block. The next scope level is function. Here I have integer main num equal 1 and integer second main number, and both of them are alive and will continue to exist until I get out of the scope, until the main function is done and I'm completely done with the main function. And when we are done with the main function, it's equivalent to terminating the program, because when you are done with the main function and you're returning 0, it means that the program is completed, is finished. So, and I have here another function, and I have a variable inside the function. It's a local variable. The name of this integer variable is my function number. And this, when we enter into this scope, when we call this function, this int my function number will be declared. And right now, and when we get into this scope, it's alive. And it is visible inside this scope and not anywhere else, and it's not visible in main function. Like, we can test that right now. Let's see out, let's print that variable. The value of my function number is if you run it, it's, let me block comments the, or remove this. Okay, anyways, I will comment them. So it's telling me that my function num is not declared in this scope. The reason is my function number is only visible throughout this scope, throughout the scope of this function, this user-defined function. All right. So this is another level that we have, function level. But if you, for instance, if you have a variable here inside the main function and you want to make this variable visible inside another scope, you can pass that by reference, and that is what I have done here. I'm calling main function with main number. Main number value is 1, and I'm passing that by reference, which means that inside the main function, the main number is both visible and also it is still alive. Why? Because I am still inside the main function and I am not out of the main function scope. So the compiler has not only destroyed this main number and other integers or variables that I have here inside the main function when I'm exiting the main function, but it is not the case in this line because we are still in the main function. In the main function, we are calling another function, which is our user-defined function. All right, so here I will pass the main number by reference and print that the value here, and later at the end of the code, at the end of this my function code, I will change the value of the input that I received from 1 to 5. Okay, let's run the code. Inside the user-defined function, this line, the value of received number is 1, which is expected. The value of main num is 1, the value that we passed. And then the value of main number variable after calling main function, this line, the value of main number variable after calling main function is 5. So by passing the value by reference, we made that variable, this main number variable defined in the main function, both we made that visible inside another function, and it is still alive. All right, so this is the second level, and the third level is having a global variable. Like before the main function, I have int visible everywhere equal 100. This variable is visible everywhere and it is alive until you terminate the program. So let me uncomment this line and comment out the other lines. Actually, I shouldn't uncomment this one. All right. Inside the user-defined function 100, inside the user-defined function, the value of visible everywhere is 100, and inside the main function, the value of visible everywhere is again 100. So visible everywhere integer is alive and continue its existence until the end of the program, until you terminate the program, until you return 0. And it is visible, why? Everywhere, why? Because it is global. And the scope of that is global. So we had two important concepts here. I hope you got that completely: visibility and whether the lifespan and whether the variable is alive or not. And all of the variables that are not dynamically allocated, they are handled by compiler. When you get out of the scope, compiler will destroy them for you so that you can efficiently use your limited memory in your computer. And yeah, that's everything about the scope. I don't go beyond this because we have also different ways and different scopes. Like you can have another file, you can write another file and include that here. For instance, include my header.hpp, and then you can write some global variables and write some function integers, declare some variables inside some functions and see if you have access to them or not. You can play around with them, but I won't go to this topic. Maybe I will cover them later, but for now you only need to know the three important scopes of a data of a variable that we have in C++: block, function level, and global. All right, take care and bye for now.